Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Live post-game show. I have, as always, Dave Dufour joining me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Pacers versus the Cavaliers before we can head over to the next game, which has already started. So, Dave, give me your initial thoughts of this first opening round game.
Well, needless to say, neither team flipped any sort of switch on the defensive end. The Cavs came out shooting the lights out, and you know what? I'm not gonna pretend like this didn't happen. I fell asleep in the fourth quarter when the Cavs were up about 10. Lance Stevenson was the most entertaining part of that game. I mean, LeBron aside, because LeBron was pretty fantastic. His passing was outstanding. But I love Lance, so I fell asleep, and so I missed the attempt at a game winner.
Well, fair enough. I'll be here to fill you in and talk about it. We don't have to tell everybody everything about what's going on in their lives. So,
hey, man, full disclosure, I don't want to front. Right. I don't want to pretend like I'm everywhere at once.
Either way, so a couple of notes that I had. First of all, Jeff Teague stinks, and of course, as soon as I think he stinks, he ends up hitting a huge three that gives him a 1-point lead in the last minute. And that was when Kyrie goes underneath a screen. So, yeah, the Cavaliers' defense is terrible. And, they were shooting the lights out, but they couldn't get any separation because of that. And the Pacers' offense isn't really that good. Without Paul George, they don't have much to go with. And meanwhile, the biggest matchup I thought that was interesting was that LeBron James, they simply would not put him on Paul George until the very end. And it hurt them. It kept them in the game. Paul George had a huge game, and I got a lot of crap on Twitter when I just kind of asked if he's going to get any shit for this like Curry does. But that's a really interesting statement to me.
Yeah, look, I think that they're trying to save LeBron's legs for later on in the playoffs. I mean, that's my assumption. But to go back to your Jeff Teague point, I think Teague is borderline unplayable. They are attacking him kind of the way that they attacked Curry last year in the finals. Of course, Curry was hurt, and that's a large part of the reason why they were going after him. But with Teague, he's just so little. He's 6'2", $180, soaking wet. And, LeBron and Kevin Love can just do whatever they want with him. I mean, Kevin Love started to post up at the three-point line, and, Teague was helpless. He basically couldn't do anything. So, to me, I think they found a better lineup when they went to Lance and C.J. Miles out there instead of Ellis and Teague. And I would expect to see more of those two guys as this series, continues. So,
yeah, I agree. And sorry, the only problem is Lance becomes unplayable too a little bit. Like, they could really sag off him and dare him to shoot it, which they caught him again where he took a three when they were down by 3. So they need to figure out. They didn't look like a very well-coached team, I think is really the bottom line for me. There's enough possessions there that you cannot have. Like, they had one where they didn't pick up J.R. Smith and he hit a three out of an out-of-bounds play. You can't have that in the playoffs. Simply cannot have it. And you can't really have it if you're the lower seed on the road in the game one. So if they played better earlier in the year, if they were somehow a better coach earlier and then all of a sudden are not better coached now, I doubt that is possible. This is probably more of an indictment on, Nate McMillan than anything else. But, a better coach, and I think that the Pacers probably win this game.
Yeah, but also a better team. Let's not try to pretend like they've got a bunch of good players out there. Basically they have Paul George, who is amazing. They have Miles Turner, who's gonna be amazing, and they have Lance Stevenson, who was born ready. And that's about it. The rest of those guys are not very good. Thad Young hasn't been good since he came back from injury. C.J. Miles can shoot, which is great, but he doesn't do a whole lot else. Monte Ellis is Monte Ellis. I like him, but I don't know if he's a good player anymore. And Jeff Teague basically isn't good at anything. So, right. Yeah, good luck.
All right, so all the more reason why they can't screw up stupid stuff like not get a shot off at the buzzer at the last possession of the quarter and, not guard somebody at the end there. How big is that three-pointer they give up to J.R. Smith? Huge, right?
No,
that's
it was
the
massive.
game right there.
Yeah,
so,
not only, he was so open that he had a second to step in nice and slow like a warm-up jumper.
Right. And that was the point, was they didn't know, they weren't guarding him. Like all of a sudden they freaked out, like, oh, who's guarding that guy? And it's all, it's J.R. Smith. So like that's a really big indictment of the coaching staff, in my opinion, that they weren't ready. They're not ready to play yet. And it also is a troubling sign for the Cavaliers, as far as I'm concerned, because they shouldn't be struggling like this against the Pacers. And who knows? Maybe that's the one game they get the butterflies out. It's a weird start time, and then the next game they're going to come in here and destroy them, and then go into Indiana up 2. But
possibly.
Not a great
but at the same time, it's the playoffs, man. You can't give these people an inch, right? Like the Pacers may take this as like a moral victory, The way the playoffs are kind of set up in the NBA, the home team is supposed to win, and they barely won. And a couple of really bad defensive miscues by the Pacers. Even if they just contest that J.R. Smith shot, maybe he doesn't make it, and then maybe C.J. Miles hits that game winner, right? Like this could have gone either way, which is not good for the Cavs. Like if you're the Cavs, you want to like really step on these guys' throat. I want to see them flip that switch. I'm still waiting.
Yeah, no flip has been switched. No switch has been flipped. And here's a couple things I can help the Pacers out, okay? I know it's going to come off as whatever it's going to come off as, but I'm here to help Nate McMillan. I don't know why. You know why? I like the underdog. I like to see good games, and I like it when the underdog. So I'm going to admit it right now. Like when LeBron has to actually play really hard and get challenged, I like to see that. I don't, it's not always fun to see him just dominate all the time, which he did a lot of the time today. But here's the thing. They had LeBron guarding Monte and not Paul George to start. And I was shocked that they wouldn't have done a lot of plays calling for Monte to coming around pin downs, like some floppy stuff. Get LeBron running through there. Maybe you get a foul or two on him. Maybe he gets open and shoots some shots. I don't know. Maybe you wear LeBron out a little bit more. They didn't do that. Then they had Love guarding Miles Turner for a little bit of time there, and they never, ever went down there to attack Kevin Love down low when there's got to be an advantage there. Maybe get him in foul trouble, get him out of the game because he was shooting lights out. So, those are the playoff things that you should be experienced enough to be able to, within one possession get, and they didn't. And it was frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this is – the Pacers barely made the playoffs. I'm shocked that this game was close. I really thought it was over, which is probably part of the reason why I fell asleep. I still I think that the Cavs are probably going to wind up sweeping. I just don't. I mean, this was the one game the Pacers possibly could have stolen, and they didn't. So it's a blown opportunity, if you ask me.
For sure. Well, let's go to some questions over on Twitter. If you use hashtag #BBallShow, you can actually ask us right away, and we'll answer them live. I hope this is big enough for you guys to read. I'm still kind of screwing around here with getting all the settings right, but I'll read them out for you if you can't. So we have the first question. Let's just stick with this series right now. So K-Ray asks the obvious question: what action should the Pacers use to win that game versus the double team? So Dave, so what happened was at the very end they sent a double team at Paul George to the top of the key, got it out of his hands. Now what they missed though was Paul George cut right back and should have gotten the ball right back. He would have had a one-on-one against LeBron, and that would have been an interesting shot. They probably would have wanted. That said, they did a nice job, and C.J. Miles got a really good look. I mean, it was a little bit of a long two, but in that scenario, that's not a terrible shot. It's probably about as good as you're going to get. It was right on line. It's a little short. So that's usually what you want to do. I mean, ideally, I would say you'd flash middle and try and hit there and cut, but any other ideas from you, Dave?
No, I mean, that sounds about right. If you can't hit the cutter, an open jump shot is an open jump shot, and C.J. Miles can stick those. So, I'd be okay with that. I think I'd live with it.
Absolutely. We have another question by Matej Danutsky asks, do you think that LeBron James didn't guard George because it was the tactics, easily defending pick and roll Ellison Turner, or was he afraid? Oh, right. You're just trying to set me up, aren't you, Matej? Well, what do you think, Dave? Is he afraid, or is this tactics?
I think it's tactics. I really think that they're saving it. I mean, he did pick him up down the stretch, right? So, look, this is smart. LeBron is, he's been playing for a long time. Like, save his legs for when you need it. I'm not going to hate on him for not taking the toughest assignment on defense. It's a team sport, and if you've got guys that can run around a little bit more than LeBron, then by all means save LeBron. I feel the same way about Steph Curry. Stick Curry on your Andre Robertsons.
Right. Well, but the other reason with Steph Curry is that you have Klay Thompson. So that's who you want to guard, like the best perimeter player anyway. It's not Steph's fault per se, but either way, they're going to have to put, I think, LeBron James on Paul George more than they did. Let's go to our next question, which is Casper Sornberger was asking, after this game, do you see any chance the Pacers make it out of the series? And also, do you think it was wrong to specifically go at Irving given his clutch steals? No, I don't think it's wrong. Let me go backwards. I don't think it's wrong to go at Irving because he does have defensive issues, but he's also shown in clutch moments the ability to make severely good defensive plays. I mean, really good. And that's what you got to take the good and the bad when you're going to attack him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I trust Kyrie in those situations.
Absolutely. And then the other question is, do the Pacers make it out of the series? No, they're not going to win the series.
No, not at all.
Okay.
They may not win a game.
All right, well, let's move on to Dr. Moses. We got Mo Level Ups asks, you say the Cavs' bad D is caused by effort, but as LeBron admitted, their X's and O's, especially on screens, is bad. Can they fix that now? I doubt it. I mean, you can have some practices, you may have an extra day, but you need reps, right? You need game speed to be able to really execute proper pick and roll. And we saw the same problem. We saw a hedge on one side. The guy lets a straight line drive blow by the other way. It's a mess.
Yeah, well, this has been my statement about the Cavs defense, for the last couple months. Like, you don't just overnight solve these problems that they had. They weren't all effort based. A lot of them are schematic. I mean, poor rotations, that's not necessarily effort. A lot of that's poor communication, which we saw in this game. It was the same thing that you and I have been talking about for a couple months. So, I don't know. I don't think it's effort.
Fair enough. I agree. So let's go to our next question, which is, here we go here. Let me get a couple more results. What's the set you would have run the last play by Nicolcha asks. Let me make sure that I can see this. Yes. I would have loved to see Lance get the ball and then a pin down for PG with CJ. I definitely would have thought they would have not just sort of isolated Paul George on the top. They had time, right? They had over 10 seconds to run a better play. So, well, I don't know. Any thoughts? Can you picture that, Dave? You got Paul George on top by himself, spread offense. What would you run?
I would run a play for sure. I definitely wouldn't just go, isolation dribble pull up like we see so often at the end of games. And if Paul George is doubled and able to hit the open man and then make a cut to the basket, I think that cut to the basket, like you pointed out, I think that's what that's ideal. Is that you hit the cutter. But if not, you hope that you're able to burn the help one pass away. Right.
Yeah, I mean, and the point being that you had a lot of time to do something, and it wasn't just to throw up a quick ISO in 4 seconds. The other thing I have a problem with, and this is sort of like who the heck is coaching the Cavs, is their offense was very strange. We didn't see any high post action, no high post splits, no horns, unless I missed it, but I was watching for it. And when they went on that 11-point run, when the Pacers did in the fourth quarter, their offense was simply like pick and roll right away. No movement beforehand, and it was played right in their hands. So my question is, what coaches out there calling these plays are not getting them into the sets that they do so well? Why are they not running a high post entry to LeBron with Love in the corner and Kyrie cutting off? I mean, that's their bread and butter, and it didn't happen once. And that leads me to believe that that's why I don't think that Lou has a lot of influence on what they're running out there.
I mean, it's possible. I don't want to start the
start it.
Yeah, I don't want to start the does Lou coach this team, conversation already. Let's wait till the third round or second round of the playoffs.
Okay, I'm ready to burn it down right now, man. I'm telling you, when I see it, I'm going to call it as I see it, and that's what I'm seeing, and I'm frustrated because you know what? We saw this also in Miami in the same way when I was charting their offensive sets, and it was almost like a dartboard during random sets called no sense of what worked for them and why they were not running that. So,
what we're not seeing is the first quarter of the Bucks-Raptors game.
All right, so we'll wrap this up right now. Let's get everyone back to the first quarter. What's the score right now?
It's 22-17 Bucks.
Okay, so it's a good game. I want to get back in there and start binding the crap out of it. So anyway, we might try and sneak back here for the post game after that game. What do you say, Dave?
Let's do it. I'll stay awake this time.
All right, stay awake for the game. And everybody else out there, join us back here. And we're going to be doing this for as many games as possible all over the place on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, anywhere you find us there. And thanks for joining us. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? you in, Dave?
Yes, I am.